welcome to the daily, or rather, welcome back to the master plan.
Yeah.
Would you have voted for it in the form that passed had you been on the council at the time?
I would have to say no.
You had mentioned, I believe in a previous form that, and you had just talked about it then, the 400 or 450 units was too few. Do you have an idea of what number might have gotten you to a yes?
The studies that numerous government agencies, be it the city or the county, have done have indicated that we need to see tens of thousands, approaching hundreds of thousands of new housing units region-wide if we're serious about meeting the affordability crisis at the scale that it exists. So you have to think 10 times that number would have been more appropriate. If you were to sit in a lab and design a system that was inequitable, and that was your goal, you're going to sit there and you're like, how can we legit sit here and try to make the most inequitable city that we can? You would draw up something resembling Seattle today. I mean, a commitment of 4,000 homes, 4,000 units that are accessible to people making less than 60% or 50% of area median income. That's a starting point to me. I mean, 400 is, that doesn't even keep up with the size of the incoming freshman class any given year. 400 is just laughable. I thought it was, I read about it in the Times as it was happening. I thought it was a typo.
Have talked before about the idea of police abolition. And I'm wondering how, with other candidates talking about an increase in police presence, how you can realistically bring that framework of police abolition into your policy ideas.
So when we talk about police abolition, it's a link back to recognizing contemporary policing has deep links to a slave economy and deep roots to institutional forces of institutional racism that we should have long since turned our backs on. It's about severing the link between contemporary policing and historical racism. That's what I mean by police abolition. What I'm suggesting is here are actual pathways that we can get to demilitarized policing. We can have an expanded community service officer program in the city that where unarmed officers are the ones who are responding to people who are having mental health episodes or to houseless folks who need services. We can have fair enforcement in our public transportation that is not fair enforcement, but is actually there to serve an ambassadorial role. For all the newcomers that we have to Seattle, people are getting lost in the trains. We can actually have so-called what are now security forces in our public transit that are sort of alerting people to some of these issues and encouraging people to ride transit, as opposed to criminalizing young, mostly Black and brown people for riding the train to school.
And Rob Johnson left the seat that you're running for early, and now we have Abel Pacheco.
Sure.
So having had that experience, how would you assuage those concerns?
Well, I mean, I would tell voters of District 4 that I worked, I used to edit a newspaper when I was in an underground newspaper when I was in 10th grade. I worked as a columnist with the hope of becoming an editor. I received an editorship position weeks before I declared my candidacy for city council and had to turn my back on a job that I had really wanted since I was a teenager.
All right.